Hello YouTube artists, I'm Kelly Hernig and welcome to my sketchbook series. For this segment, what I'm going to talk about is finding inspiration in books. This is the book I'm going to talk about. This is Taking Risks with Watercolor by Shirley Trevena, and wait till you see how I'm using this as a practice guide. I'm looking at Shirley as a master artist, one that I want to copy first, take from what I gathered and learned from her, and then turn it into my own artwork. It's been a process, but I have loved the challenge. I love her techniques that she shares. She does a lot of mixed media in her watercolor, and it's giving me the courage, and it's showing me that it's all possible, and I love that. So thank you, Shirley, for being an encouraging teacher and creating books for all of us to learn from. So let's dive into my sketchbook. It's waiting for us. I wanted to share my latest sketchbook study. I'm looking at the artist's work, trying to mimic it, and then coming up with my own artwork from what I liked and what I learned from the lesson. That's going to make more sense as we go. So this is the book that I'm studying with. This is Taking Risks with Watercolor by Shirley Trevena. And the reason that I bought this book was because it was watercolor that was done in a different way than what I saw originally, or what I thought watercolor was. You can see just really nice pictures. The colors are really bold. I love her landscapes. She talks about setting things up. She uses a lot of different mixed media items in there. Her colors are amazing. I mean, look at that bright color. Not that I could do bright colors. I'm trying to, but it still is a struggle. I mean, look at her landscapes here. Look at this beautiful section. So this was things that I knew would push me. I love this floral here. It's one of my favorites in the book. And she does give one big demonstration where she shows step by step. I mean, look at the movement here, and look at all the shapes, and look at all the colors. Then she's got a dark side and a light side. Then she's got some random squares here, and I just really like the way that that all plays together. It's so energetic to me, and I really, really like that. She has several different books, and I love them all, but this one's my favorite. I love this. Look at that. So you see how she's got texture all over the place. And then she's got really boldness where she wants you to study. I love her lines. She does lines a lot and color shifts. And I mean, look at this one. It's just really beautiful. See that she's got an empty spot back in the background here, which lends itself to this, but then look how it pulls you forward. I just really, really like her art a lot. So I'm going to show you what I'm using to study this. I have a sketchbook, but before we get into that, I want to show you a trick. This is a regular mat board, just a like 5x7 mat board. And what I did was cut it in diagonal corners. So either do this side here or this side here. And you can see I did this side. So what you have now is a crop tool. And you can make these easily out of cardstock. I wouldn't do them out of copy paper just because they're not strong enough. You want something nice and sturdy. But anywhere that sells mats or frames, you should be able to pick up a mat for about $3. Now the great thing about this is you place them, overlap them a little. See how the corners are kind of overlapped? And see that you can push it and you can pull it square. Really skinny rectangular, really skinny square. And it's great because now you have a cropping tool, and I'm going to show you how I use that. I'm going to show you this first picture that I did. This was page 16. So this is the picture, and you can see it's very complicated. There's leaves, there's flowers, there's all kinds of different lines, and I just really was intrigued by the whole thing. But for me to try to paint this and study technique is too overwhelming. I don't know where to start. So what I did was I took my little cropping tool here and I looked for little areas. So I looked like, can I do this? How about up here? Can I do this area? What if we did a long skinny area? What that's doing now, it's letting me look at a little area instead of being overwhelmed by a big area. See how this moves? And even though it's a little area, it's very complex. So for me, I like that. I like complexity in my work a lot of times. And part of my reason for loving her as an artist is the complexity and the colors that she's using. So I'm going to show you the area here that I cropped. I had to find it. Okay, it is this little area here. So I'm going to try to bring you up so you can see that. So you see that little area. There's a lot going on, but there's also a lot of light and darks. Do you see that? So you've got that really light blue area here in the middle. And then you've got kind of darks here and darks outlining some areas of interest up here. And then you've got another light area here, a kind of yellowish area here. And this is how I'm breaking it down for myself. I'm saying, okay, what do I see? So I noticed leaves, 3 or 4 leaves, but look at this background here is actually another leaf. This is actually another leaf. This is the stem of something going up. So how I did this was I laid out my sketchbook and using the crop tool here, I started drawing just the light and dark areas. So just with a pencil, I took and I drew this little dark shape in. I drew this little light shape in. I loved all this lightness. So I knew that for the lightness, I'm going to have to do like just a giant wash of light. I knew for the dark that I needed to get that dark because that's what defines these little leaves here. And then I've got a nice little bit of light here and here. So what I did when I drew that, I applied the light wash first. So I did all of this in light wash. I did a little bit here in the light wash and then up here. And then I looked at the darks. Remember, I'm studying. So as I'm looking at the darks of her work, so we've got a really nice dark here and then the darkness here separating the leaves. So I was trying to do the dark here and then adding the darkness to separate the leaves. You can see that here there's a yellow part here. I have a yellow part here. So that's how I'm looking and learning from her. I'm taking each little piece and I'm paying attention to where her lights are, where her darks are, where she's coming back and adding some medium values, adding some darks, letting colors mingle. She does a lot of color mingling, and I love that. She does a lot of, like I said, adding straight lines in there. You can see there's a straight line here and a straight line here, and it just separates the picture. And what I love, the straight lines make me very comfortable because I'm an architectural major, and so having those straight lines is like a comfort for me. If everything is really rounded, I get a little nervous because I don't have any straight linear lines to kind of focus on. As I was doing this, and once I was finished, I looked at it and I said, what did I really like about this piece? And this is where it's going to vary from you and me, if this is something that you want to do. I'm asking myself, what did I learn? What would I do again? Is there some part that I was really drawn to? So for me, I really like the play of the dark and the medium value here. Even though it's like a strip down here, if you cut that off, look at the dark, medium, and then it goes into light. And I like that. I don't normally do that on one shape in my own work. So I was like, okay, I've got to remember that. One value or multiple values in one color. It has an overall greenish gray cast to it. So I'm remembering that. I was also intrigued by the way that she used multiple colors on her leaves. This had multiple colors, this had multiple colors. So I was like, okay, I have to use something where it's just an everyday item. Leaves are an everyday item to me, but think of like an apple or a pear, something just sitting out that you see all the time, but yet it's made more, to me, it's more mysterious having all these colors, because I'm like, well, is it in the sun? Is it dappled light? What is it? So I'm trying to answer those questions. And then in this section too that I pulled off, I really liked the addition of the gold here. So you can see there was gold, this was a gold leaf, this was a gold branch up here. So there was 3 things that I wanted to take away from this. The one color, multiple values, the multiple colors in one area, and then the gold. So when I went to do my own design now, I did a big box first, and I did this. So I did the multiple tones in one coloration. And you can see it goes from dark here to medium to light. And of course I splashed it with some water so that I would get nice texture. Then I looked at the leaves. So I wanted leaves here, and I liked that they were tumbling down, so I wanted my leaves to kind of fall down as well. And you can see I've got multiple colors in all of my leaves. Now, do my leaves look like her leaves? Absolutely not. But what they do is they display all the multiple colors that I was trying to achieve. And then pulling in the gold, I thought about what do I have, or what do I like to look at that is golden? And we have pear trees and apple trees on our property. So I thought right away of an apple. So I like the apple here. And again, I gave it the multiple shades because you can see this one is a little lighter up here. This one is darker here. So I started with light and went darker this way. I have gone through, I don't know, I've done quite a few pages in this sketchbook now where I do one of her pieces of art, then I have to come up with my own, mimicking the lessons of what I learned. So I'm going to do another one with you here. This one is so bright. Oh my gosh, 57. But I want to show you her original picture because it's amazing. And I write the page numbers so that I don't forget. Okay, this is the page. Now, would I ever pick this page to paint? Oh my gosh, no. But I loved a lot of the techniques in here. You can see that she scratches a lot. See the white scratching? She uses different pencils and pens and water-soluble things. I, again, love the straight line there, breaking up that dark and light area. So when I went to do this, I found an area that I liked. Right, let's see how far I went. Right like this. So this little area I could do. You can see that it's got a light spot, it's got a dark spot, but then it's got a vibrant dark as well. And then it has some muddy red pink in here. And I like that. I also liked all the markings going on in this background. Let me bring that up closer. Do you see all those markings in the background? There's like scratches and scribbles and straight lines, and I just really like that. So when I went to do this for myself, I started with drawing that little straight line for myself. I drew the chair in there, and that's all I drew. The rest I knew I could kind of finagle in there. And I started with the background. I knew I wanted that to be really dark, and in order for me to get that chair that intense, yet still dark, I had to have the black there to tell me how dark to do the blue. If this was white next to it, the blue would seem a lot more intense and a lot deeper value, but with it being black, it's actually in the front, so it pops out a little bit. So I had to do the black first to establish my dark, and then I did the light. Once it was dry, I did the light right next to it so that I could establish that light area. And when I was studying this picture, I could see that the light and the pink, they kind of went together, but there was an actual line here. Do you see that little line? And then as I went down further, this all just looked like it was done when it was wet. So I have an actual line. So I did this little section first with like a ivory color. And then from here on down, I just did a light pink and then did pink and then let it fade into red and then a deep red. And I like the graduation there. I thought that was really nice. It really added, to me, it added a lot of personality here. It was almost like you're sinking in water. Think about that as you are plunging in and going deeper. That's how I felt with this, that it was getting me a little deeper and darker, and that's why it was going down in value that way. So when I was studying this, the couple things that I really liked was I love this little bar here. I liked that there were two different colors. I liked it on the dark, but I also liked that she brought it over to the light area. I really liked the lines in the background here. And I like the idea of the dark and the light. I love that division in there. So this is what happened with me. So I did, the vase is where I did my dark and light. So I did dark and light, but I used these little tab things, that's what I was calling them in my head, these little boxes here to break up the light and the dark. So that's what these little marks are. And I added pattern to one side, the drips where I splashed, and then the other side I left kind of solid, because if you look here, this black is more solid, and then this side has a lot more texture. So I really like that. And I used a granulating color here just so that it wasn't so dark. Like, to me, this is really a dark void color, and I wanted mine to have a little more life. So that gave me the opportunity to use a granulating color. And I really liked the lightness up here. And so I looked at it and studied it, and I gave myself some little marks. And that's where I did these, like they're to mimic a money plant. But I want you to see that even up close, you can see that I do have some lines in there. They're very faint, but I added the lines because I like the texture that that added. It gave them more than just one single thing. It let me play around with shape a little bit. It let me add a little bit of color. So I think I added paint, but I also added some Derwent Inktense pencils. And it just let me play around with something that I normally would not have given that texture to. And it was a nice little reminder that lines are very important, but they're a great design element as well because they do add texture. And here I curved mine gently with each of the money plant seeds so that they would kind of follow the gracefulness of the pods. So from this, I got this. And you see that each one so far, I'm making it into my style. I'm not using her colors. I'm using her colors to mimic and to learn from, but then I'm really evaluating what can I take from this lesson. And then I did this. Okay, this one, page 31. This is the picture. Isn't it amazing? Now, I absolutely love the orange shoes, but I don't know if you can see this. I will bring it up closer. There is a little blueprint up here in this area, and this is the color of actual like blueprint paper. And I was immediately drawn to that little section here because of the little background, but I knew I wanted to do this shoe, and I'll tell you why. Let me get it all blocked in for you. So when you look at the shoe up close, I want you to see how she took her brush, just like a flat brush, and went straight down over the shoe. And do you see that's a nice dark line now? I, in a million years, would have never thought of that. But it does multiple things for me. It adds a really nice dark shadow throughout, but it also leaves light spots on everything. So the sole of the shoe, the little strap, the sole again, and then the upper bow. Do you see how that is? And then up here, this was the drafting or the drawing that you see in the background there. So when I was doing this, I took it one color at a time. I started here with the yellow because I wanted to not forget that yellow. To me, it was an important, ugly color. And ugly, I mean, it's not vibrant. It's not at all like this vibrant yellow here. It's more toned down. It's more grayed. It kind of sinks into the background. Yet to me, the yellow and the orange go so beautifully together. So that is where I started. And then from there, I added the purples. So let me put that back so you could see it. And bring my piece in. So you can see I have this really nice dark color in here. And I've got the yellow and the orange kind of playing off of each other, just like here. And I like that this whole little bow over here is much lighter. And then I like the texture that she had in here. And I couldn't really figure out what it was. It kind of looks like a crayon, but then it kind of looked like salt. So I ended up using salt on mine here just to give it that little bit of texture that I really liked. And I liked that, notice the textures here. She's got like a little rough puddle here. She's got some white puddling here, or white texture here. And then this is kind of smooth and this is kind of smooth, except for maybe a little bit of layering and coloration. So maybe when it was wet, she came and added a little darker spot to it. So trying to figure that out in here as well, like how am I going to do that, was a bit of a challenge for me. But it was worth trying different ways because I'm looking at this, it's just a sketchbook practice for myself. I'm trying to learn and understand by trial and error. That's all I have to go on. I don't have classes with her. I don't know if she does classes, but I do have her book so I can study from that. And I can come pretty close. They're not actual pieces that look exactly like hers, but adding that little dark line, I really enjoyed that. I was trying to be bold and just do it, and then I softened some of the edges like she had here. But I really enjoyed just adding that line. So here are the things that I took away from this lesson. I love the drafting in the background. I absolutely love that. Remember, my background is architectural rendering. So in order for me to use that, I was like, how can I pull that into a piece? I like the square format. I like this really bold stripe. I like that the colors really didn't go together. If you would have told me that I was putting a golden yellow, an orange, and a purple together, I would have been like, what? So for me, I'm like, okay, what are some colors that I normally don't use? Because remember, I'm trying to push myself. This is a challenge for me, and I've got to get out of my comfort zone. So I just thought, well, I'll draw a flower that's kind of pink. Why not? And the background I'll do in a buff titanium and some greens because that's my comfort zone. But here's what I want to show you. When I did the original drawing, I did a drawing of a blueprint in the background, and then I painted over it. And then once I was all done, I came back and strengthened the lines that I wanted to see. So you have to look really close in the background here. Do you see all the little arrows? Do you see this little faint circle here? Do you see the little lines? Do you see the little circles with numbers? Do you see this little number here? So all under here, there's a little drawing. And to me, I really liked that aspect of it. In fact, I want to develop a whole series around that because I had so much fun doing it. And because she had all of these different areas that were like a different color, she carried this kind of down as a stripe. She had little areas here like the straight lines that I kind of like on her work. I decided to bust mine up a little bit more. So I just wanted to leave a white line here and use it as little quadrants. And then I used this green line as a dividing line as well. So when I got in here, I did a little bit of the salt, because remember I used salt up here, and I kind of like that technique. I don't use it a lot, but I thought it would add a really nice texture here besides my splashing water or just pulling little layers over something. And I let this just kind of go too. See that I just kind of let it drip because I like that this wasn't precise. She let some of the orange run into the blue. She let some of it play together over here. And so with me doing that with the different pinks and purples, I just kind of let it go into the background, and I wasn't really worried about what it looked like. I just let it kind of do its thing and work wet on wet, because I think when I am trying to control everything, I don't get the results that I like. So if I let it just kind of play and leave it alone, I do much better and I'm much happier with the results once it's done. But it takes me a while. It's taken me a while to get used to doing that, because I was an acrylic painter and a color pencilist. So I was used to knowing where I wanted to go and putting the exact thing in there that I wanted to do. So if I knew that I wanted this little splash here, I would just paint that in. But with watercolor, the beauty for me is letting things happen naturally. And because I really like granulating and separating colors, it lends itself to let it just air dry and morph and change. You know, it just didn't happen like that. I kept splashing a little bit of water here to kind of force that dark edge towards that flower right there. But yet in the meantime, it gave me this really nice little area over here that I really enjoyed. So thank you for taking the time to watch this and let me show you a different way of using a sketchbook. If you were inspired by this sketchbook study, please like, comment, or subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks for watching.